We are at the brand new Birthplace Plaza at the corner of St. Louis, Park Central East, and Jefferson. And we are going to take a look at all of the new art installations.
2012 was the first festival on the square. We had 1,000 people and 100 cars. Well, fast forward to 2019, we had 65,000 people and 600 cars.
At one time, there were 10 theaters downtown. There were 3 here on the square. First run shows came here to the Fox, the biggest of the 3. The passing of history is felt inside this building. It's been a linchpin of this downtown area and entertainment.
My name is Bridget Bechtel. I'm the Executive Director of Sculpture Walk Springfield. Sculpture Walk Springfield is a local nonprofit dedicated to bringing public art to the community with the belief that it improves the economic vitality and overall beautification of the space. One of the big projects we've been working on is the Birthplace Plaza. We were approached last year by the Rotary Clubs of Springfield. The Rotary Clubs felt a special kinship to wanting to do something for the centennial. Being that there was a Rotary District Conference going on in 1926. The gentleman at that Rotary Conference wrote the telegram that said, we should name it Route 66. Birthplace Plaza is Birthplace Plaza because that is the site of the Colonial Hotel, and the telegraph was sent there from the hotel as well. We were given the guidance of create something that will resonate with the past but inspire the future. So Sculpture Walk Springfield did an international call for this art piece.
This is called the Ghost of Colonial, which is actually the hotel that was exactly where we are walking on. So the material basically is stainless steel 316. What I like of the sculpture is that leaves fragments a little bit in the air, so you complete it with your imagination. This is like the pre-entrance to the lobby of Colonial Hotel. You can see that poetry of that world that is not lost because the energy is here.
Juan got his start after the fall of the Berlin Wall. He was one of the artists that was there and helping with the revitalization of that area. And so he created a cathedral there that had been destroyed in the bombing of World War II. His Memoria Urbana series of taking lost memories of urban spaces just seemed almost too perfect. The Birthplace Plaza has the sculpture component. Just to its west is a mosaic of the continental US, and then next to that is the informational kiosk, and then there's a mural as well.
I am Christine Schilling, and I am the artist and lead designer on this, but it's a team project, so there's a lot of people that help make this happen. This is a mosaic map of the United States which features Springfield as the birthplace of Route 66. There are many little secret elements in this mosaic map. It's a treasure map, and it represents little places people have visited, moments people have had that were very special, and some are obvious and some are very subtle. When we make a piece of mosaic this size, we call it a piazza, which is a gathering spot, and that's what this project is really about, is about how a community has grown up around the concept of travel and migration. I think the magic of Route 66 for people is that it represents a dream. So my job as an artist is to listen to those stories and represent the dream that people have expressed.
This is the informational kiosk. This is the signage that's going to tell you all about Route 66. Pinnacle Sign was the partner that brought the keys to life. They just wanted to have a fun, playful addition to the plaza with the very honorific Ghost of the Colonial Hotel and the very bright and beautiful mural. We needed something a little bit fun just to break it up. We are here in front of the mural, the large mural done by the Overlay Festival in October 2025. Osiris Rain and Emily Ding were the artists who collaborated on this project together. Osiris does a lot of the portraiture work, and then Emily did a lot of the different multicolored abstract things you were seeing. That is a depiction of a woman trying to get back home to Springfield on Route 66. It says Springfield 100 miles for the centennial, and she is meant to be depicted as the mother of the Mother Road with the small little creatures that are native to Missouri into this area.
Today is a celebration of history and of what is possible when a community comes together with a shared vision. And it is fitting that we dedicate this space today at 4 p.m., the exact time the original telegram was sent on April 30th, 1926.
On behalf of the citizens of Springfield, Missouri, I hereby dedicate the birthplace of Route 66 Plaza.
I've been involved for a year, but I know that this has been 20 years for some people of wanting this thing, because the way you feel about where you live is kind of sometimes the only thing that can keep you tethered in a world where things are chaotic. The birthplace of Route 66 it's a small thing, but it's our thing. And it's our special thing that we can connect to, that ties us all together in a community. I hope we continue to allow people to feel connected more and more deeply rooted to the place that they are living.
My goal is simple. I mean, I want people that makes it their own, makes it be part of their lives or visions or ideas, so that process of sharing has to be independent from me. So that is my goal.
My mother, her dad and his family immigrated here from Lebanon. I grew up with parents that bought into Springfield. So between that personal heritage that I feel and that sense of honor that I feel is getting the opportunity to do it, it's pretty monumental. Regardless of whatever I do for the rest of my life, this is something that I gave to, and I'm very excited that, it's a part of our story.
My dad was a lawyer, and his office was downtown, so my mom would, if he had a long day in court, we'd meet him down here and go eat at one of the cafeterias nearby and then go to the Fox. It was a big deal. This is the Electric Theater, which is what the Fox Theater was, the Electric Theater before, but it was established in 1916. Obviously, Springfield wasn't that big then, but we were able to bring lots of early movies in.
On this site, where the building is now, was the most modern department store in Springfield. It was the Hers department store. It had been built on this site in 1903. 10 years later, in 1913, there was a fire in the building that just went wild very quickly and burned this whole corner from Boonville Street to St. Louis Street to the ground. A theater chain out of Kansas City began to work here, the Electric Theater Company, and they opened this theater in 1916, and it was opened with a schedule of silent movies and also vaudeville. It was on the vaudeville circuit. So it opened with a great big awe-inspiring activity, the Tuzunian Arab Whirlwind Acrobats and Dancers opened the theater. So it opened up and began to show movies and have vaudeville, and became a huge piece of downtown with a great lighted marquee and everything. At Christmas time, the sidewalks would be packed full of people. They had to paint lines on the sidewalk so that people wouldn't be crowded up against the windows where people couldn't see in the store windows. And it was just the lifeblood of the city at that time. At one time, there were 10 theaters downtown. There were 3 here on the square. And then in 1930, times were hard. It was the beginning of the Depression. And they sold it to one of the major theater chains. They sold this building to Paramount. And so it became the Paramount Theater. And it was the Paramount Theater then from 1930 to 1934. And then in 1934, it was sold to the Fox Theater chain. This was Disney Central, from Pinocchio to Herbie the Love Bug. It didn't matter. If there was a Disney movie, it opened here at the Fox. Had lots of different concerts, and local radio personalities would have shows here. For a short time, in the late 40s, the host of the radio program here was Bob Barker. He was going to Drury at that time, and so he was the radio host for the interview show.
It's changed colors over the years. It was green when it was the electric, and then it was red when it was the Fox, and now it's blue. And you know, I came here for movies. When I was a child, actually, the floor was wooden then in the 50s. And if you dropped your candy balls, it would roll all the way down. And my mom goes, that's it, you know. We call these the Fox boxes, and these are original to the Fox Theater. We love them. And this is the original marquee where you have to place the letters up there. So we're high tech now with the digital marquee.
It stayed the Fox until it closed in 1985. There really wasn't a lot of traffic down here, and the theaters were out at the mall and places like that, and people were going to the multi-screen theaters much more than the single screen houses. And it sold to a church, and then it was a church for 20 years. Between 2005, 2006, and the church decided they were going to build a church facility out southwest. They put this on the market, and we had some donors that ended up buying it.
We came through with my husband and the architect, and we were looking around, and I kind of froze, and I went, it's like it's frozen in time. It's preservation. That's important to us. I think having grown up here, having worked downtown, and how this was the heart of Springfield. And then the fact that it's on historic 66, it just felt like the right thing to do. First, we did the Fox letters, and we replicated it. We had photos to go by, which is in our archives, which is kind of cool. We set it up. We had a red carpet event. We had Kathleen Turner and Tommy Whitlock, who both grew up here, and they were like our celebrities. Kathleen walked into the theater, and she said, "Don't ever change the blue." You know?
3, 2, 1, light it up! How about that? Great job, everyone.
People were out on the square watching when we lit the Fox, and John Sellers had a giant switch. It was hysterical out in front, and people were taking pictures. These murals are kind of our special surprise. It's been in the Fox since 1947. They were painted by George Kiefer, and he was from Pierce City, Missouri. He lived in Springfield. When I was a child, I remember coming with my brothers and my dad, and my daddy knew I loved art, and he said, "What do you think of these murals?" And I said, "Daddy, they're so beautiful, but who picked out the carpet?" I'm sure the artist said that too, because the carpet was really busy. I feel like the neutral tones now really set off the mural. We are actually working with the Galois Theater, and they're managing for us, which is fantastic because that's what they're really good at, and they're close by. And so they're using it for, we've had fundraisers here, we've had plays here. Mosaic is coming up, I believe, in the fall, and they are just so talented.
The passing of history is felt inside this building. When I think of all the buildings we've lost, when I think of all the places that are only in our memory, but nowhere else, to put value in something like this, to put value in the lives of all the people that have spent their lives making it happen, that's wonderful for me.
I'm a historian, and the last 5 letters of history is S-T-O-R-Y, so you've got to tell a story. And the stories about Route 66 are what makes Route 66. We started the Birthplace Festival in 2011. Jeff Schrag was getting ready to open Mother's Brewery, and Rusty Worley was president of the Downtown Association. And he said, with Jeff's wanting to have some kind of a shindig to kick off the brewery opening, he said we were thinking about, since it's on Route 66, we were thinking about a Mother Road event. I said there's a lot of Mother Road events across that 2,400 miles. We are the birthplace of Route 66. It needs to be the Birthplace Festival. August the 11th was when the telegram came back from the National Highway Association saying you can have the number 66. Well, the official date when it was designated was in November. Well, you can't have a car show in November. So we picked the second weekend, the date closest to the 11th of August. And we started off just down the road here at Grant and College, there at Mother's Brewing, across from Bud's Tire and Wheel. And we lined about 3 blocks there. This corner has always kind of held a really high place because this is where it all started. But there's cars lined up all along here, and we had them staged. We marked off 80 spaces, and then as the cars kept coming in, we ran out of spaces, so they'd come back up and they'd park in between other cars. It was just a good day. We started at 8 o'clock and probably got done at 4 or 5, and then at 5 o'clock we lined up. We started off here in the roadside park, and we lined up our cars for the parade. There was 3 or 4 guys that had been to a car show someplace that they had them on the square in this town. And so those guys said, okay, Esley, let's do this on the square next year. I said, do you guys know how much trouble we had getting this little stretch of College Street? But we ended up being on the square. 2012 was the first festival on the square, and everybody wanted to be on the square. Well, you've only got about 50 spaces on the square, and so it's been fun trying to see who gets to be on the square. Each year we have a different poster, and the first years we had a fellow that is a Springfield artist and does t-shirts and posters like this, and they're all unique, they're all different. We had marked off 80 spaces, and we ended up with more people coming, so we had 1,000 people and 100 cars. Well, fast forward to 2019, we had 65,000 people and 600 cars. Our festival used to be just on Saturday, and then we decided we'd start Friday afternoon at noon, and cars would come in, and then Friday night we lined up our cars for the parade. And we've had as many as 800 cars in that parade, and they would line up here. We'd cut the ribbon at Grant Street, and then they go to National and take about an hour and a half to see all those cars. And I ride in that parade in a 1967 red Cadillac with an Elvis license plate on it, with my grandson, who is a Purple Heart Marine veteran, and my 2 great grandkids. And we've ridden in that parade together for the last 6 or 7 years. Motorcycle folks has a thing called the Globe of Death, where motorcycles ride around in it and try not to run into each other. And then the musical performances are through the day on the Motorcycle Village stage. Of course, the parade at 6 o'clock on Friday night is the big thing.
I'm Larry Allen, Lockwood, Missouri. I'm a member of the Go Pokey Pontiac Club here in Springfield. I've got a 58 Pontiac Parisienne convertible. The Pontiac Club, for the last several years, from the square down to Camel on College, we'll fill both sides with Pontiacs. So that tells you how good our club is about coming to the show. Oh, I just enjoy it. You see a lot of people that you've met back before, they'll come down and oh, we remember you from a year or 2 ago. Yeah, you get to see a lot of your old friends and meet new ones. The tiger is our school mascot. My wife got it, it's part of her Beanie Baby collection. And she is getting rid of it, so I've been taking the Beanie Babies to parades and shows and passing them out.
We decided that we would set the cars up in zones, and then each one of those zones had a zone captain. And they gave that zone captain the option whatever you like. If you like Chevelles, pick a Chevelle. If you like red cars, pick a red car. One of the fellows last year had worked hard enough and long enough to get his car able to come to the festival and ride in the parade. But we presented him with one of these, and he was just as happy if he's got one of the biggest trophies he's got. One of the things when we started the festival, wanted to promote Route 66 and Springfield as the birthplace of Route 66, wanted to honor John T. Woodruff. And so each year I picked somebody to award the Woodruff Award. And it's somebody that has been significant in the promotion of Route 66. That this award, I feel like, is what makes the Birthplace Festival special. In 2016, I had picked Gordon Elliott, that has Railhaven, as the Woodruff Award. And when I was getting ready to present that to him, he and Jennifer Adams had come up and they presented me the Woodruff Award. It was a shock to me. And I never, I pick these things and give them out. I don't ever expect to get anything like that. And so it was big, and they had more fun doing that because it was a surprise.
I'm starting to see some younger guys come into it. Some of them got the older cars, some of them got some of the newer cars, but it makes me feel good because if we don't get the younger generation involved, we're going to lose it. We're going to have this bond that everybody's here for the same reason. They're into cars and they want to see other people and show off what they've got.
It has a life of its own, and it just stays alive. And it's like Route 66. It's never going to die.
We went to see Help. I went with a bunch of my girlfriends to the Beatles movie, and they were all screaming like all the other kids screaming. And I was a cheerleader and I was loud and everything, but I was like, you guys, they're not, it's just a movie. And yeah, I like Paul, he's cute, but it's like, but my girlfriend still razz me about that. Lots of great memories.